Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 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 Bismillahilladzi la yadurru ma'asmihi syai'un fil ard wala fis sama'i wa huwa samiul alim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. And dear my students, this is the video for topic number 2, and I want you to refer to chapter 4. Giving your first speech as the title, and you need to look into Stephen E. Lucas' book. So there are about 16 slides which I will share with you, okay, in this video, and I think I will spend around 30 to 40 minutes, okay, for the whole chapter 4. Alright. So Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now we start with the lecture, online lecture for this particular chapter. Giving your first speech. Okay, basically there are 3 objectives of the chapter. After reading this chapter, I hope that you should be able to explain, number 1, explain the major factors involved in developing and organizing your first classroom speech. Number 2, I hope that you can explain, at the end of the class, you can explain the nature of extemporaneous delivery and how they can work on speaking extemporaneously as they rehearse their first classroom speech. Your first classroom speech. Number 3, I hope that after the class, inshallah, you can explain the elements discussed in Lucas' book with regard to delivering the first classroom speech. Alright. Now we move on to the first part of the chapter, which is preparing your speech. So when we talk about having the preparation of our speech, according to Lucas, okay, we need to know the conception of icebreaker speech. What is icebreaker speech? Okay, in page 60, icebreaker speech is a speech, early in the term, designed to get students speaking in front of the class as soon as possible. If you can still remember our earliest class together, okay, where I had invited several of you to come to the front, and then we have some activities. It's either you were introducing yourselves, or we did some activities related to public speaking. So that's what we call as icebreaker speech. Okay, icebreaker speech is so important by having you or the participants to speak in front of the class in breaking the ice. It's the conception of breaking the ice to make it melt, to make it water. Okay, so this is the way how we want to familiarize ourselves with the whole audience. Okay, we want to make sure that the contents can be parallel and so on. So this assists in terms of pulling out the nervous, pulling out the anxiety which associated with lack of confidence and lack of experience giving speeches in front of others. Some of us, I tell you, some of us, they had been in front of others for so many times, hundreds of times. But believe me, in their heart, okay, in themselves, they still the nervous there or anxiety there. It goes the same to me, because we prepared, right? But Allah Ta'ala give us the conception of uncertainty. We don't know what is actually needed by the audience, what is actually anticipated by the audience. So nervous or anxiety will always be there, but it is just the different level of nervous, different level of anxiety, and how we overcome those nervous and anxiety. Alright, so icebreaker speech is so helpful in terms of building up our confidence and also pulling out the anxiety which we have, alright, as a public speaker, and especially as a public speaker who is having the first time speaking in front of others. So icebreaker speech will be the first step in building confidence of a speaker. Alright, we move to the next slide. Alright, now when we talk about preparing our speech, there are 2 things, according to Lucas, there are 2 things that we need to take a good care of. Number 1, developing the speech, and number 2, organizing the speech. Alright, in developing our speech or in speech development, we need to focus, okay, into our topic for sure, because without the focus into our topic, okay, we will ask the participants to drown, untuk lemas in a lot of informations that we supplied them in our speech. So to help them to understand, to help them to get the ideas of what we want to share, we need to focus our topic. So here we clearly define the topic to fit the time limit. A few points based on 1 or 2 events is enough. Alright, according to Lucas, a few points are actually enough. Alright, and then when we have several minimum number, bukan minimum lah, it is optimum number of topics, okay, so we can assure that we can deliver our speech in the time frame given by the organizer, and then the points can be related or referred to several occasions or events, and it's enough. Among the mistakes by laymen ataupun by the a new public speaker, they try to deliver as much as they can. They try to share as much information that they know, and this is actually wrong. Why? Because if we bombard our listeners, our audience with a lot of information, and in the same time some of the information is not really related with the needs of the audience, so it does not make any sense. Alright, so this is things that we need to take good care of, right, in speech development. Okay, next. After we have focused our topic, alright, we need to develop the topics, okay, in our speech. So in developing our topic, we might want to start, or we might want to have the element of creativity or mystery, suspense, right, or to certain level. You can put in the elements of danger, adventure, drama based on your own experience, or you want to have a view in YouTube and so on. And then colorful and also descriptive language, and if you are humorous enough, you can put in the sense of humor in your speech development, in your topic. Alright. Okay, next. We go to the second part, okay, after the preparation of our speech, okay, the speech organization. So please bear in mind that when we organize our speech, we need to look into 3 important parts, okay, in a speech. For sure, the first one is the introduction. It follows by the body or the contents of our speech, and the conclusion or summary. Alright. Okay, we move to the first part in a speech, alright, which is the introduction. Okay, in introduction, this is the opening section of a speech. A good introduction, okay, or a normal introduction always come with the effort of gaining attention, getting the interest of the audience towards whatever we want to deliver in our speech among the audience, right? So how we want to gain attention, how we want to create the interest among the audience. According to Lucas, we can have this by posing maybe several questions. For instance, you want to start your speech, you might want to ask several questions. 5W1H, why, what, where, when, whom, and how. Those are the questions that you can pose, okay, to your audience. And then you might want to tell a story, your own story, or you make up a story, or a story of others based on experience, alright? Or you want to put some subtling statement, okay, a statement which can instigate their emotion, their feeling, their interest, or we put in some quotation. I give you an example for quotation. Maybe you want to put some evidence from Al-Quran, okay, evidence from hadith Nabi, or you want to say some proverbs and so on. So those are what we call as quotation, okay, that can be put in an introduction. Kalau masih ingat, if you still can remember, I put some quotations of Imam Ash-Shafi'i. Man arada dunya fa'alayhi bil'im. Wa man arada al-akhirah fa'alayhi bil'im. Wa man arada huma fa'alayhi bil'im. So, this quotation is actually a support at the very beginning of my speech to access the interest of you as my audience, okay, in terms of the topic that I try to deliver. So Imam Ash-Shafi'i's quotation just now is about knowledge. So I have this quotation at the very beginning of my class because I want you to know that if you want to get a successful life, okay, here or in a hereafter life, alright, you need to have ilmu or knowledge. So quotation is a kind of attention gainer and interest builder among the audience. Alright, and then introduction orient listeners to subject matter. We orient, tahu kan, konsep orient ni adalah we drive them carefully, nicely. Kita memandu mereka to subject matter, the focus of our topics or the focus of our speech lah. Alright, and then introduction is a matter of creating a dramatic and colourful opening to make sure that the audience will listen more, okay, and listen better with their hearts and their minds. We move on to the second part, okay, in organizing the speech, which is the main section of our speech, the body of our speech. So, in delivering the body of our speech, we might have maybe 3 parts as the body, or 13 parts as the body, or maybe 30 parts as the body, no problem. But there are 2 types of methods which have been regarded by several authors as effective enough in delivering our speech. Number 1, we call it as chronological, and number 2, we call it as topical. Alright, so chronological is a kind of natural order of occurrence. Okay, while topical is natural parts. You might want to start from any parts as long as you complete all the parts. So this is what we call as topical part. Okay, I take one example from chronological. Let's say you're watching chef, a chef 1 ke, chef 2 ke, chef 3 ke, try to share with you how to cook nasi goreng kampung, for instance. Alright, so that particular chef will always have chronological method of chronological method of explaining the body of the speech. He or she will start with the ingredients that you need to have in nasi goreng kampung, and then for sure he will go to the steps of how to cook nasi goreng kampung from the very beginning until the end. Okay, so that's what we call as chronological method. But it's a bit different with topical, where you can take from any angle, okay, and then you can continue with any other angles, but it must be based on topics. For instance, I want to share with you about the human body, the mechanism of human body, the functions and so on. So I might want to start with my head, which includes my eyes, my ears, the function of my mouth, my nose and so on. So I wrap up the topic and then I move to the next topic, which is the next part of human body. I want to tell maybe about my hands, okay. I have fingers, I have thumbs, I have middle fingers and so on. So I wrap up with that session with the topic. Okay, sorry, I wrap up the topic with hands. And then I move to the medium part, to the middle part of my body, of human body. Okay, and then the last part, the legs part. So that's what we call as topical, which we can take from any angles as the starter. We can end up with any other angles, but we must make sure that we have the explanation with what we call as topical method. Alright. So according to Lucas, in explaining the body, okay, of a speech, we need to limit and focus number of main points. Why? Because you don't want the audience to lost in the series of topics that we try to deliver. So each topic focuses on single aspect. Okay, and then according to Lucas as well, we need to include transition statements. Okay, transition is so important because we want to bring the ideas that we are giving to our audience one by one, clear. For instance, I have done with my explanation of humans head. I want to have the next topic as my next point. So I need to have transition. Transition ni apa? Dia macam pertengahan. Okay, dia macam peralihan. A statement that try to distinguish from a topic with the other topics. Okay, so that's why we need to have transition, and I hope that you can read more from the textbook about chronological, topical method, and then main points and also transition. Now we move on to the last part of organizing the speech, okay, which is the conclusion. Okay, so what's the importance of conclusion? In conclusion, we will reinforce ideas that we have delivered in the whole speech. Okay, and then how we want to assure that our conclusion is good. Okay, so we end with strong note. Okay, it's either we have we pose some questions like what we have did in the very beginning of our speech. We put in some dramatic issues or story. We provoke the audience. We try to instigate the elements of emotions and so on. So this is what we have in conclusion, where in conclusion the audience will get the idea that did they got everything been delivered by the speaker, okay, like what he mentioned in the earliest part of his speech. Okay, yang dalam earliest part tu sudah tentulah the objectives, okay, the outcomes of the speech. Either he reiterated it in conclusion. That's what we call as the power of a conclusion, which signal or reinforce the central ideas of the speech. Okay. Okay. Now we move on to the next part of this topic. Alright, delivering your speech. So in delivering your speech, Lucas had divided it into three major sections, which is number 1, speaking extemporaneously, number 2, rehearsing the speech, and number 3, presenting the speech. Okay, we go to the first the first section of delivering our speech, which is speaking extemporaneously. So please refer to page 66 of Lucas' textbook. Okay, what's the meaning of extemporaneous speech? Extemporaneous speech, as mentioned there in page 66, it is a carefully prepared and rehearsed speech which is presented from a brief set of notes. Okay, so apa maksud dia? Okay, speaking extemporaneously is not based on the end of 2 dimensions. Number 1, a dimension of reading a text in our speech 100%, or number 2, we are having our freedom of speaking anything based on whatever had came across in our minds. So speaking extemporaneously try to put both dimensions together. Okay, so that's why the understanding of extemporaneous is a carefully prepared and rehearsed speech. See, a very well prepared, and we rehearsed the speech maybe more than once. Okay, which is presented from a brief set of notes. We still have notes. We still have things that we can read in order to give us some cues and so on, but we are not having a process of reading any text, okay, ataupun reading any notes, no. And then familiar content with fresh conversational delivery. Speaking extemporaneously is a way that we try to deliver things that we refer to our notes minimally, and then we try to deliver it like a natural way lah, which is we have a conversation with friends and so on, but in a formal way lah. Alright, so it's a combination of having conversation, informal or formal, with reference on notes that we have prepared for the speech. It's a combination of both ends. Alright, so it is not manuscript per se, word for word, or impromptu 100%. Okay, little preparation. It's the combination of both, impromptu and also manuscript, in a minimum, in an optimum level of the combination. Okay, number 2. After we know about speaking extemporaneously, we rehearse our speech. Alright, so in rehearsing the speech, okay, we have what we call a smooth delivery, okay, which comes from practice and experience. It is not keluar dari perut seseorang ibu tu terus seseorang tu have the ability and skills to speak in front of others. No, a person, a professional speaker, had came from thousands and thousands of practices, and also had maybe failed in his speech experience, but he learned or she learned, right? So in rehearsing the speech, it is good if we can practice it out loud. Kita cakap macam sebenar lah, okay, in front of our familiar fellows like friends or family members. And it is good to have this kind of physical rehearsal, because those of our family members, our friends can give good and constructive comments about our delivery style, our speech style, and so on. Alright, and then by having what we call as rehearsal, okay, it helps us, okay, in terms of taking a good care of the time for our speech. It is not too short, or it is not exceeding the time limit of our speech. Okay, the third part, okay, in this particular section of delivering our speech is presenting the speech. So, when we want to present our speech, okay, it is a nerve-wracking experience for sure. Dia akan menyebabkan kita jadi nervous, resah, we have the anxiety there and so on. But don't worry, okay, there are few things, okay, that you can do in order to concentrate on your presentation, especially your first presentation. Okay, so according to Lucas, we need to look into the starting of our speech. We need to assume position with good posture, the way how we stand in front of others, the way how we walk, okay, through the participants if we can, the way how we arrange our notes, how we handle our microphone and so on, and then our smiles and so on. Alright. Number 2, gestures. Gestures is always related to our hand movement, our arm movement. Okay, so we need to make it natural. Okay, and it is not planned. Too many movement of our hands and fingers will also disrupt the attention of our audience. So we need to have it minimally lah. Alright. And then number 3 is eye contact. Okay, we need to take a good care of our eye contact, okay, with the whole audience. It doesn't mean that we need to look into the eyes of each of the audience. Just imagine if you have 200 or 1,000 or 10,000 audience. Does that mean that we need to look into the eyes of each of the thousands of our audience? No. Okay, the way how we have our eye contact must be okay lah. We are not focusing more on our right side of audience, or only left side of audience, or only beautiful or pretty audience. No, we try to capture most of the audience. Bukannya satu persatu, not one by one, but most of the audience. Okay, we will have our training on this particular part. Alright. Okay, next, the voice. Okay, so make sure that we can handle our voice. If we need to speak louder, we speak louder. If we can control the volume of our speech because we are using microphone, so we do it professionally. Alright. And then the next one is how we want to deal with nerves. Okay, so we need to realize that nervousness is actually natural. The one that stand in front of you, which are your lecturers, they have been there for maybe 100 or 1,000 of times in front of a group of students. But still, like what I told you earlier, we are dealing with our nerves as well. Okay, so make sure that the nervousness is not visible to our audience, because when our audience found out that we are nervous standing in front of them, you yourselves will add in the level of nervousness in yourselves. Okay, and then the technique on how to deal with nerves. Okay, take slow deep breath. Okay, we inhale and then we exhale naturally. Okay, and then we relax our legs muscles, our hands, okay, and so on. So in Islam, maybe how we want to deal with nerves is by having what we call as zikir, selawat ke atas Nabi, sallallahu alaihi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on. So this is how we want to deal with nerves while we are having the process of presenting our speech. Okay, and I think before we end up the video of this particular topic, alright, I want you to refer to page 71, alright, the summary of the topic. Please read it carefully, because this summary tell us again what we already have browsed through the whole topic. Okay, and then I hope that you can familiar yourself with key terms, okay, in that particular page as well, page 71. And then before I end up this video, I want to share one hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, "Whosoever believes in Allah and the last day, then let him speak good, let him speak khair, or remain silent." Okay, and this hadith is narrated by Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu. So with that particular sense, with that hadith, okay, I think that's all. I hope that you can do the exercise which I have put in goals which related to this particular topic. Wallahu alam bisawab. I'm so sorry if I said something wrong. Alright, I hope that this video will be of benefits to all of you. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.